Hello! Yes, so I am going to get right into the story. Okay, this happened back in 2018. I was going back to Australia from a holiday. I couldn't go back to the house I was living in because of some personal problems. So I moved into someone's house to like transition the move because I needed time to look for the new place. So yeah, I went to that house and I personally didn't know anyone there, but like someone very close to me knew someone in the house. Right when I landed in Australia, I went to that house and I was like, the next morning I will call my manager to get back to work because I needed money. So the next day morning, I woke up and I was about to call my manager and she called me, just before I call her. And I was actually so sick that day. Like I was very feverish. Because I think it's because of the climate change, I'm not sure. But actually, when I travel by plane, usually I get sick. I don't know why. When I land, I get sick. So yeah, I got sick. Yeah, when my manager called me, I was like, hello. And you know what, when I spoke, like my voice changed. I couldn't speak. So when I said hello, she was like, are you okay? And I was like, I think I got a fever. She was like, yeah, you sound like it. I called you to see if you wanted to get on the roster this week because like she knew I landed. And she was like, yeah, but I think you need to take care of yourself first. So like, when you get better, just give me a call and I'll get you back. Because like she understood, I love that lady. I always talk about her. But like she really understood. So I was like, yeah, cool. And I got really sick. Like I got like really high fever and all that stuff. And so I had to stay home for like a couple of days. And then that's when like things started to get a little weird. Like there was a guy in that house who I don't know, he was trying to like touch me. He was trying to he had bad intentions. So yeah, and he was very like normal about it, he would just come up and say it. Like he says things and like he says what he wants to do, whatever. And I started to get really scared, so I was like, you know what, I need to get out of this house as soon as I can. So I started to look for houses, but then I was like really sick that I couldn't. And that by that time, I think me and Dabu already started dating. We were always talking, and he was like, you know what, just rest and I will take care of the house thing. I will look for houses and get you all the contacts that you need to go visit. So that was like, thank you. Yeah, so yeah, I was resting. And also I was kind of really scared to sleep as well because the guy could just be in my room anytime. Like his room was right next to mine. So then like sometimes would take turns. Like when I would sleep, like he would Daryl would watch like if someone is coming into the room and stuff like that. Like it was a really like miserable situation. Like I needed to get out of the house. Daryl, he looked for houses, and the next day I went to visit houses. And the first house that I went to visit was actually, I think, my first choice. Like it was very close to uni and it was a very good neighborhood and stuff, and like great. So I went there and the apartment was, yeah, it was an apartment, it wasn't a house. The apartment was so clean. It was so freaking clean. And I was like, wow. The minute I walked in, And then you know, I visited the house, and the host was like really, really nice. And they actually had 2 bathrooms, so had like private bathroom and all that stuff. So I was like, you know what, I'm taking this. The day after I moved to that apartment, so like one problem. Oh yeah, oh, pizza's here. So yeah, one problem was like gone. That was the day I called my manager as well to get back to work, because I had no money. And not that no money, I had money, but I needed more. So I called up my manager and I was like, you know what, I'm better, and you know, put me on. Yeah, so you know, usually when you rent an apartment or maybe even a house, you have to pay 2 months, like when you start to rent it, like you have to pay a month in advance. So yeah, I had to pay 2 months worth of rent. And then, you know, obviously I had other expenses. I had like traveling, food actually. I really cut on food. Like I only bought a cereal box and milk, and I would have cereal breakfast, lunch, dinner, which is I think is a very common thing for like international students. Like we're broke. I had like enough money to do all these, right? So I paid the 2 months rent, paid everything, and I started going back to work. Great, everything was beautiful again, and everything was good, everything was going good, and I loved the house. I loved that new life that I had, you know, like it was a new place. It was a great place. I loved that place. Oh my god, not just the house, I mean the place where the house was, you know, it was amazing. For those who know Australia or who are in Australia, in Perth, I was living in Joondalup. It's like a very beautiful place to live. So yeah, everything was good. And then and then one day, well, basically that month I didn't have my salary yet, because I just started working again. I only had the money that I had, and which I said was like just enough to do everything that I had to do. So, you know, I calculated everything. I think Tahu was with me. Like we were calculating like, okay, we have to pay 2 months of rent, and you know, pay for my phone and this and that, and we calculated everything, and it was like just enough. We're like, great, you know, we'll survive this month and then things will be smooth again. Just at the end of the month, the day before I get my salary, I went to work at night, and I finished around, I think it was around 8:39. I had to take like a bus and a tram to get back home. So I took the bus, and in my head, you know, I'm like, yay, like tomorrow I'm gonna get my salary, everything will be good, and you know, I just have to go home and sleep and I get money. So I was going, you know, I took my bus, I was at the station, I was going to get my tram, and my, you know, there is this card, like travel card. It wasn't, how do you say that? It wasn't accepting my card. So I was like, what the hell, you know? And in my head, I have money in that card, you know? So I was tapping it, and it was not letting me. And I was like, what the hell? So I went to check it. When I checked it, I had no money in that card. Like the bus travel was the last trip I could take with that card, because that's all the money that was in there. And I was like, you know, so I was like, okay. Like I said, I was dating him at the time, and he knew everything that was happening, like everything that I just said. He knew everything. So I was like, you know, maybe I can borrow money from him. And that was actually very hard for me to do, like, because we just started dating, and I was like, oh my god, like he might get like a weird impression of me, like, you know, I'm asking him for money, like, yeah, it was hard for me to do that. So I was like, no, it's fine, like, you know, it's like a genuine situation. And I actually thought I had enough money to just get home. So you know, I had my earphones because I was working at the same time, and I had my earphones on, and I called him, and he picked up the phone. He was like, hello? And I was like, yeah, hey, you know, and I was telling him what's happening, but then I couldn't hear anything from his end. And I was like, what the hell? Like, is there no reception or something? And I took out my phone, and my phone was dead. And I was like, wow, the timing of these things, you know, like, I only needed one trip in the tram to just get home, and just that one trip I couldn't, you know, I couldn't do it. And now my phone is dead. And I was like, shit, you know. And at that time I didn't know what to do, and I was in the middle of the city, and like everything was closing, and I'm like, shit, what do I do? And I don't know any number in my head, like I don't memorize any number. So I was just thinking and thinking. I was like, maybe I can walk back home. Which is like the stupidest idea, because like my home was so far, okay? So I was like, okay, no, that's very bad. So I was like, okay, maybe I can walk back to my workplace. It was closed too, but I was like, I don't know, maybe I'd find someone, like a watchman or something. But then I don't know, like, what if I walk back? And you know, by that time it was like really dark, and for me to walk there, like, there are places where there's like forest. I was like, you know, it's probably dangerous for me to go back alone. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like a bad idea. So I was just thinking and thinking, and I was so freaking scared. So there was this place in the city where every time, like, when I go to work, I take like I buy stuff there, like food or like a drink, something like that. So, and because like I'm usually outgoing, I would talk to those people, you know, but I didn't know them, but like I would talk to them. So I was like, you know, maybe I can go there and like ask for a charger, you know, to charge my phone. So I walked there, and I was so scared. I was like, you know, maybe he's gonna say no, maybe, like, you know. And I was like, if he says no, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm alone and it's dark and I don't know. I walked there, and the guy was like, hey, what are you gonna have? And in my head I'm like, I have no money. Like, and I was like, no, I was actually wondering if I could have a charger because my phone's dead. And he was like, oh yeah, sure. Like, he was very nice and very cool with it, but I think I was just overthinking. I thought like, oh, maybe he's gonna say no, maybe he's gonna, you know, whatever. But he was like really cool. He was like, yeah, sure. And he plugged my phone, and I was, you know, all this time I was just not talking. I was like in my head, I was just thinking. I was like, I don't know, I was just questioning everything and just wondering things. And I think there was a guy who came, and they were talking, and like in my head, like I was alone there. Like everything just was like in a background. I don't know if this makes sense. Like, did you ever experience that? Like, you just stand there and like you feel just alone, and you feel like everything around you is just blurred. It's just like echoes, like you can't even hear what the person is saying. You're just so like, it's a weird feeling. It's just, I don't know how to explain that, you know. So I was like that, you know. I was like in my head, I was I think I was very disappointed in myself or something. I don't know why I was feeling that way about myself, because I was in like a hard situation and I had to do what I had to do to get out. So, but at that point I was so disappointed. I was like, how could I not think that? How did I not check that? Why did I think that I have money in this? And like all that stuff. And then the guy, I don't know, maybe he noticed, I don't know, but he looked at me and he was like, are you okay? And just that word, you know, like, are you okay? And I burst into tears. I was crying so bad, like so ugly. I was crying on the my nose started like running, and he didn't ask if I needed a tissue. He just gave me the tissue because I need it, you know. And he gave me that. I'm crying. I'm like, I was telling my story in a very, like, he couldn't understand what I was saying. I was just like that. And he didn't say anything. He just waited for me to like calm down a little. I was crying. I was like, yeah. And then, you know, when I already got that cry out, then I told him, you know, like, this happened and like I don't have money to go back home and stuff like that. And he was like, oh no, like, he was very nice, you know, like, he was like, you obviously try hard for you to feel so bad about what happened. And he was like, every day I see you go to work and you work so hard, stuff like that. And he was hyping me up because he was an international student too, like that was his part-time job. So like he was like, yeah, I've been there too, like, you know, sometimes you have so much to pay and like things happen, you know, sometimes there are situations that arise that you just don't see coming and you have to like go with it. Yeah, he was very nice, and he was very, and he started telling me his story. I think he offered, you know, he was like, if you just need money to go back home, I can give you that. And I was like, no, it's fine. You charged my phone, and that's like a big deal. Like, you did so much already. I'm sweating. Yeah, I was like, you did so much already charging my phone, so like, no, I think it's good. And then I called Telmo, and I was like, and he didn't know what was going on, you know, because like I called him before my phone dies, and I couldn't say anything, and he couldn't call me back, so he was like really worried, and he was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. And then, well, I told him the story. And then he was like, okay. And I was like, you know, if you could just lend me some money and I'll give you back tomorrow, because I'm getting my salary tomorrow. And he was like, yeah, no, you know what, I'm gonna get you an Uber, just let me know where you are and stuff like that. And I told him where I am, and my Uber came. And I got in the Uber, and I started crying again. I was crying, I was sobbing, like the whole journey I'm just sobbing, and the Uber driver was like, are you okay, what happened? And I'm like, no, just life. And he was like, oh yeah, I understand. Like, he was also an international student, and he was like, yeah, even me, like, see, I have to do these jobs to get by. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I'm crying, and he's like, no, I'm sure it's gonna be fine, whatever. I was like, yeah. And then he dropped me home, and when I got home, my housemate was up, and he was like, hey, there is something for you here. And I was like, what? It was in the kitchen. So I went there and I saw Nando's, and I was like, what? And I was like, Daru. And I called him, and he was like, did you order Nando's for me? And I was like, yeah, you've been through too much, and you know, I wanted to make something nice. I was like, oh my god. And I think I started crying again. I was like, why are you so cute? And I was so happy, because I ate cereal for like a month, and then I got this. I was like, yes. When that was happening, Daru was also like struggling, you know, the fact that he bought me Nando's, and also because like there is no Nando's in France, and he loves Nando's, and you know, the fact that he bought that, and also because it was a surprise. I was like, yes. And then I got a message from the Uber driver, who was like, hey, did you lose your keys? And I was like, I'm in my house. Like, what keys, you know? And I was texting back, no. But then he called me. I picked up and he was like, hey, did you get my message? I was like, yeah. No, it's not my keys. And he was like, yeah, no, I know it's not your keys. There's no key in my car. I just wanted to make sure you're okay, because you were crying so much. I wanted to make sure, like, you know, don't do anything stupid. Like, I think he thought I'm gonna, you know, kill myself or something. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm feeling better. Like, it's all good. I think I just needed to cry. And I was like, okay, cool. So then he hung up and I never heard from him again. So yeah, that is my struggle story. It was I'm laughing so much when I'm saying this, but like in the moment, you know, it's like it's really, because at that moment, you know, I thought, you know, if I was in Mauritius, I would know where to go. I would just know what to do. But in that moment, I was like, shit. Like, that's when you realize that you're in a foreign country. You're not in your country, because you don't know anyone. You don't, you know, you feel just so alone and so yeah, you don't know what to do. But yes, like at start, you know, like I got like problems after problems. Like first was like the personal problem, which made me, you know, look for another house. And then I went to the other house and there was an asshole in that house. And then, yeah, and then I'm in the city with no money to go back home, and my phone dies. Like, in my head, I was like, what the hell? Why is everything happening like this? Like, every bad thing, like one thing after the other. It's like I got a strike of like bad lucks. And then it was all good things after that, you know? Like, all the people that I share this story with, you know? All the people who is in the story. After that are like really good people. It's a really nice. And yeah, well, that is it. And what I want you to take back from this story is that first, before you go into a house, be careful, because I don't know, you know, when you go to another country, obviously you don't know anyone there, and when you're a student especially, like, you kind of are in a situation where you have to share a house or share an apartment, you know, and these people who you're sharing these things with, you don't really know, and sometimes they can be dangerous. So obviously you can't know everything, but like, just be careful. And when you see red flags, don't wait, just leave, you know, because you can't leave in places like that. And of course it's like hard when you leave, you know, like you have to pay double rents the first month and stuff like that, but it's worth it, because after that, like in that house and everything, it was great, you know. And I was like, thank God I got out. And yeah, and also check that you have money before going out, especially at night, you know, you never know. But yeah, anyways, that is my little struggle. Obviously there were other struggles, but I think this was the highlight. I think it's the highlight because it's like one bad thing after the other, you know. Other struggles, it was like, I was dealing with one thing at a time, but this time it was I had to deal with a lot of things at the same time. And it was also like I didn't have money, but at the same time I was happy with where I was, and I was happy in terms of mentally I was more peaceful where I was. But you know, it was like a very weird situation. I was happy, but I was stressed and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna end it now because I'm, you know, by now you should know Parani talks a lot. And this is why I am always scared to do story times, because my stories never end. But yeah, I'm gonna go. And if you liked this story, or if you liked me telling the story, if I'm a good storyteller, let me know by clicking their like button. And yeah, for more of my contents, subscribe. I don't know why I do it like that, but it's just weird to say it. Like, if you say it, you know, it's weird to say these things. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm overthinking. Okay, bye. Yeah.